That way Terry's got there. It should be recording so she can listen in later on. All right. If you want to drive through the PDFs, I think we'll start with that.
Okay. How do I get down to the PDFs here?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, I figured it out. Okay. Well, I was trying to figure out what was your screen and my screen. I got it now. Okay. So where we're at with the thing is I emailed you guys all the current plans the way they are today. So she's finishing up those. We should have all of our structural stuff and electrical stuff on Monday to close that out. So my plan is that next week we will submit these for permit next week to Union County for permit, and hopefully right after that we will. At the same time, I want to, by the end of the week, I think by next week's call, I think, Joe, you and I need to sit down and come up with a bid document of what we want people to bid on.
Yeah, and I started that.
And get that out.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Because one of the things I want to do is, my goal is right now is that while we're in for permit, which should be only a week, we've got 3 weeks, I think, right now, right? If I'm correct. I think we got 3 weeks right now till the next council meeting.
Okay. Yeah.
My goal is by my next council meeting that we have numbers back so we can propose a list to council by the next council meeting and saying, hey, this is it. This is where we're at, so that they know where all the money. If we need to pass a resolution, which we shouldn't really need to, because the money's already in the budget. You know, it's already written in the, the budget for the year. So that way they know what the money is and what we're going to spend, and hopefully say everybody agrees and says go. Because as soon as we do that, I want to turn around. I'm going to start ordering all the trusses and all the material will start being delivered at the site.
Perfect. Okay.
With my goal of the first week of August, as soon as it gets there April, start be set up to get ready to go by that week.
Okay. When we seek bids,
that's my goal. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, when we seek bids, we'll outline some options, right? So we might have a contractor that just wants to do the restroom versus the shelter, or do you want to try to seek somebody to do it all?
No, I think we're going to seek people to do the stuff that we're not going to do on hand.
Okay. Perfect.
So that will include finding somebody to do, I think, and Howard, you can chime in on this one. Ray says, him and some guys poured his dad's slab. My opinion is the concrete on this job is too massive for us to try to do as individual volunteers.
Yeah.
I think we're better off to try to find a concrete contractor to do it. So
yeah,
that's my opinion, because it's going to be there forever. We kind of want it warranted, so for the cracking and all that kind of stuff, I'm worried if we do it, then it's going to crack, and everything along that line.
Yeah, I think it's probably best to have a professional group pour it out and make it flat and level.
Right.
I've seen a lot of concrete go down commercially, and it's nothing that I want to learn how to do on a weekend.
That's exactly it, and that's what I'm thought. And here, let's talk about process too. And I guess that kind of comes into it too. So you can see on the screen here that I have, I opened it up to the main floor plan. Let me click page 2 here, see if it gives anything better. No, it doesn't. Okay, so what you'll see here is that we'll have all these little circles here are posts. So my vision is that here's the first step that we'll do: get our building permit approved. We'll go out there with the Bobcat and the auger, and all of these post holes out there we'll drill and do on our own, okay? And then once we get those done and set these posts, okay, then we'll set it up for the concrete guy to come in. He will come in, he will pour the entire concrete slab, because the restrooms and the restrooms, either way that we do the restrooms, they will actually be done on top of the concrete slab, okay? And at the same time as we're doing this, I'm going to have Corey with Bunsel come in and run our plumbing to the inside of that pad. so that we get it to, to the toilet, to the sink, to the spots that we need it to be at there for the water, or for the sanitary and the water, because we'll pour that into the pad when we go.
Okay.
All right. So that's how that is, and that goes into what I'm thinking of, Joe, is like for our responsibility for us and volunteering, the post, we'll put the post in, we'll put the trusses in, we'll do the roof and everything along that line. I'm flipping to another one here and flipping to here. So, we'll come in and do all that kind of stuff. We can, while we're waiting for the concrete floor to be poured, we can build all this half that has the wood trusses on, the wood post. We can build all that on our own while we're waiting for that, because realistically, the technical rule of thumb is we'll pour the concrete pad. You can't touch it for 28 days. That's curing time. We can go a little bit less than that, but that's what you're ultimately looking at before you want to put anything heavy on it. So that's why I want to get in here 1st of April, and so that way when we come in by the end of April, we should hopefully have a concrete slab being ready to build everything else on. Okay, so that we can do the bathrooms and that, and so that'll be, ultimately a May project. But in that weeks before we're done, I'm hoping in that time frame we can build the whole roof structure, up to this last post here. And then what happens is we'll build the framing for the block restroom, and the trusses and everything will just sit on top of it. You'll see here's the section and what it looks like here. So what we're looking at here is this is the one with the masonry structure, so it'll actually, the trusses will sit right on top of it. Okay, and then the one on the right hand side that I'm showing you here, this is where we'll build everything else, will be just the wood structure in its own. The architect suggested, and I said, let's put it in anyways. Here's on here, if we want to brick wrap the columns. We can decide that later at any time that we want in order to do that. It doesn't have to be, and it could be an option as done down the line. I just put it on here because if we want it, we can do it later. Okay. And then what we're looking at here on this page here, it's another wall section for, this is the section, let me see, what's it called? A311. A311. It's right in here. Let me zoom in here a little bit so I can figure it out. I should have printed them out so I could read them better. Ultimately, there's what your sinks, and you can look at that. I mean, there's your sinks and your toilets and everything along that line for that stuff in there. We're doing electric hair dryers because I think we don't want those little paper towel issues that we have there. Okay, so that's what 2 section. So it's 2 section. I'm going to show you in a section. That's the one that's cut through the fireplace. And ones are all the ones that are the outside walls, or the walls. Here. So when you look at this section, that's the section. This is the section with the wall, with the masonry and everything on it. And this one, it looks like it still needs a little cleanup. And the bid alternate. The bid alternate, what the bid alternate is I told her to give us, she's going to give us the alternate one will be with the block wall, and then the other one will be with the a stud wall in there in case we decide. I think that's one of the things that we send out for bid, is we send out for bid the one with the for masonry. We go check Bud Hall, see if he'll do the masonry for us or whatever. And if we find out that it's too much money or can't find anybody to do it, we have a stud wall option to go to instead, which we can all put up on our own. Ultimately, I think we all want the block wall. I think is better for us at the same time. And that's the same thing when we do the masonry. We got to find out how to do the brick fireplace too. Who to bid that to. This one I'm showing you here. This is the electrical plan, so it's pretty much just showing you, hey, here's the plan on putting the center light here. We'll put 6 lights out here, approximately 8 foot off the center. So that's where we're planning on lights. I have a spotlight that'll be on the ceiling here that will shine down on the fireplace. So that way when we do our bricks with the each level, the chrome, the gold, the platinum, you know, bronze, all that stuff, silver, bronze, gold, whatever, we have it on there, we'll have a spotlight sit on them, so that way it'll at least shine them up, you know what I mean, so that they'll show up. I've only had her put in 2 outlets on this wall, mostly just because we got all the electric and everything here, so let's do that. We have an outlet sitting approximately in the middle. That'll be for our projector and everything along that line. We also have what you see on the outside here on both ends in case we do the DP&L sign or something else. I had her include the electric on for spotlights out there, so if we do put the DP&L sign up there or something along that line, this will shine on it, and you know, so that'll get seen, so it'll look nice.
Okay.
Okay. This is a good one to show you the bathroom here. So you have your sink, your toilet, obviously. Men's has the urinal in the middle. Over here will end up being the dryer, and that one there's the light switch. So those are fountains on the outside. One of the things as we get going, we don't need to know that at this point. As we get moving, we'll need to figure out, let's see, that's the details of the panels on the wall that we'll end up having to do. Nothing big at this stage. That we'll have to decide what color do we want this, you know. Right now it is spec'd out. I can actually back down one and zoom that in. You can kind of see on the other elevations. So we got a standing seam metal roof that we're putting on, okay, and it's sitting on 3/4 inch plywood. So we'll have that sitting on there. There's your 3/4 inch plywood. So we're speccing that. What color we want, I just said let's just leave it open. We can pick whatever color. Whenever we submit to Home Depot or Carter Lumber, whoever, we can have them tell us, okay, what's your standard stock, and we'll let them give us colors and we can pick. It's the same thing here. One that we have to do that I want to get a bid price on is OSB plywood for underneath, because we'll need to close these off so we don't get birds and everything in there. So we'll have plywood there that I think we just normally, some of the ones I've seen, they're just painted white. So go ahead and paint them white. Or if we want to do the vinyl soffit to make it look nicer, we give ourselves that option to do that, but it's a matter of how much the extra price is going to be. So I think that's completely up to us, you know. Here again, I'm doing a rough split face block, and if nobody understands that, I can easily get some pictures or anything like that. I think it's the normal split face block that, you know, it's rough on the outside, looks nice. So that's what I said, let's propose that. It'll be smooth on the inside. So being smooth on the inside, that'll allow us to paint it, you know, on the inside for inside the bathrooms and all that kind of stuff. And as you see, we'll have our concrete slab here. I'm going to check. I do not believe this detail is correct. I don't believe we need to put in a 4-foot by 2-foot footer. So I think she'll shrink that down, but we might have to. So that's something we'll have to look at as I go through these final sets. So that's pretty much the building. Unless you guys have any other questions on that you want me to verify.
Yeah,
I think the drawings look good. Have we been in contact with Bud at Bud's Masonry yet?
I have not yet. I wanted to get these drawings done yet before I went to him.
Maybe
So
next week, once we get permits in, you know, as soon as we're ready, we let them know that we got a major project going on and the budget's already been set. We can start paying. He'll put us in the front of his work list there, you know, as he's bidding other jobs. You know, I know he does good work, and close to home is good, and he's more likely to employ more people from Milford Center.
He's first on my list, so that's why I want to get these done, and that's what I want to target with. Okay, hey, here it is. Here's the masonry. Here's the brick. Here's the concrete. You know, work for here. I think those are the only things out. I think we use Corey in order to run our plumbing into the bathrooms and everything along that line. So I think we have him covered there. So we're using the same guy we are. We know he's fair and everything along that line. So I end up doing that, and then I think the rest of it, the roof, the poles, all that kind of stuff. That's the stuff we can do with ourselves, you know.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Chris, with the lights, are they going to be controlled through the storage area, or how will that work?
The lights in the bathroom, or the
The
lights in the open area?
in the open area.
In the open area, yeah, we'll have those all controlled inside the storage area.
Okay. Do you envision them kind of going from low to high, like on a motion, or do you envision them being on all the time at night?
I envision that I think that's what we need to figure out. No, I do not believe that they'll be all on at night. What I want us to figure out is maybe we might have, and maybe that one at night, maybe it's the spotlight that's on the fireplace.
Okay.
Maybe that's the one that stays on all the time because it's on there but provides a dim light everywhere else.
Okay.
You know, and then we have control of the light switches in our storage room. So that way, if anybody wants them on, we control them.
Okay.
You know, you have to have access. So let's just say somebody rents it. What I wanted to do about it is that if we have our movie night, we could need lights out there.
Sure.
So I wanted us to be able to have lights out there for movie night, you know, when we're doing our stuff and being able to turn them on and off. Somebody rents it at night, I mean, then yeah, we can turn them on. But overall, I don't think we want them out there all the time.
Good deal. And we're going to have the 4 or 5 foot apron around the entire structure, including the men's and women's doors in the back there.
Yep, there's 5 foot apron around, you know, that's detailed on, because it's outside, so that's detailed on my drawings.
Okay.
You know, maybe. There it goes. So you're looking at my drawings, so that's where, sorry. So that's where that 5 foot apron comes in.
Okay.
So now you can see the 5 foot apron. So that's our 5 foot apron that we have that goes the whole way around. It'll be 10 foot thick as it comes in through here just because of where we got that set. So what I need to add on mine is the electric panels over here. So we'll run electric around this way to get in. The water's already right there. It's already have that in there. So that's about all I really need to do. And then I need to show some conduits out of here going over to the concession stand that's going to be on the other side.
Okay.
My goal right now, just so you know, I am probably moving I've got everything set up. I went and asked for permission from Brenda Brill to come across her property. That building, we're going to have a hard time getting it down State Street, or down Mill Street. So we are probably going to try to, I talked to Heritage today, but it actually comes out that I think I can get around without going on their property, and actually who owns all that property back there is Brenda Brill. So I sent her a message today asking her permission to take that building down the back field area and cut across her back property and then come over that way. Then that way we don't have to deal with any overhead power lines or telephone lines or even that driveway coming out there. There was trees in the way, and I'm like going, well, that I can automatically, when I looked at it again today when I met them out there, we're going to take that branch down, we're going to take that branch down, we're going to take that branch down. I'm like, going, this is just a pain. And him and I walked the path around the back, and it's like, that's just going to be our easier path to get it back there.
Okay.
So my goal for that one is to actually move it on Tuesday or Wednesday next week. Also saves us under $100 because it was going to cost us $100 to get a no dock permit. So we won't have to do that. So I will have the pad. I was going to finish it last weekend, but you know, when I went to go out there Sunday, it was whatever it was, 10 degrees, 15 degrees, and 3 degrees with the wind chill. I'm like going, yeah, we can wait one more week. And then my goal is, and this is where I have to set up with Terry and getting some things out, my next goal is that if I get that laid in, if we get this put in next week, the next weekend I am going to dig out the area for the swing set. So then that would put me on a calendar. I don't have it right in front of me, so that would mean that, let's see, this weekend would be the 20th, so that would be like the 27th. So that would put us the first weekend in March. I want to come drill these holes and put the swing set in.
Huh.
So that'll be my goal, is that weekend, the first weekend of March, is to have to put the swing set in. And my goal will be after that weekend, we get that done, and maybe at the same time while I'm out there, I will come and I will dig the playground area out. So then that way, maybe the last weekend or second to last weekend in March, I can dig out that area, and then hopefully before we start the patio, before we start digging holes for the pavilion in the first week of April, we could actually start working and putting that playground area together.
Cool.
My goal is to have both playground areas completed before we start in April, before we start the pavilion. And if we can, I might jump over, if we can, I might jump over at the same time when we're drilling the holes for here, maybe even the holes from here, we can go and let's go over to the next one here. Hold on. Come over here. I don't know, Howard, if you guys talked about the swing set, putting a new swing set up here or not, or using the old one for now, But my other idea was that we could come in here and actually and I might even do it because we'll have a smaller bit and everything when we do those, is that I might come over here when we have the bit and we're drilling for the swing set or them, we might come over here, we only need 4 holes on here, so drill the 4 holes for the playground equipment here. And then that way we can at least get started on installing it.
Okay. Yeah, I will probably also know here shortly whether the scouts are going to take over on putting up some of Nick Voigt's Eagle Scout project back in that other available area. They have to come up with a plan, coordinate the dates and all that with us for the post hole digging. But if we're going to use a Bobcat, they've got a little bit of a procedure to go through before they can start anything. So if that's April time frame, it's probably pretty helpful for them actually.
And we can let that go if we have to, if they want to come in and do it. I figured, more or less them setting the picnic tables, mulching and setting the border was probably as far. If they want to set the playground equipment there and be part of that, then we can include that in there or not. So playground equipment, I was just thinking of stuff that we had going on while we were there.
Right. Yep. And how
and
much?
They can come in, and they can come in afterwards and do the border, and they can come in afterwards, do the border, and do the mulch, and take care of that part of it. Is that we'll set the equipment and let them come in and do that part.
Yeah, by the time the project's done, I think we're going to have enough topsoil that's been stripped off that we might even be able to go down to the park there in Sugar Ridge, put some pipes in that ditch, and
actually just so you know, that was my original plan, and that stuff, all that's over there, that was behind the what you call it, the old water, the treatment plant and everything. That's where it was supposed to go, but then those guys decided not to do it and didn't do it. So yeah, you're right. That is, I'm glad you brought that up as a reminder. I completely forgot about that when Don asked me that the other day, but you are right. That was my initial plan, taking that there and filling that whole thing in. So we can do that too.
Do you recall, do we already have the culvert pipe to put in that ditch line over there?
They already put one in. It wasn't the one I would have put in, but it works. I would have taken one of the bigger pipes they had sitting there and put it in, and they put one of the smaller ones in. I can look at it if I think that maybe I'll look at it here when we get a little thaw and see how it flows, because they just threw it in there, didn't, put it the right length. It's sticking up out of the ground. It's, they didn't do the right thing. I need to go over there and look at it, but we can do the right thing with that and do that. I think that's a good idea. I'm glad you reminded me. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, that's something that me and Terry had talked about. We got to take care of all the parks in the village, not just the one that we drive by each day. So it's
right.
Something that's still on our plate to finish out
Well, no,
right.
you actually brought up, you got actually, that's what you have there is absolutely perfect. That was my plan before, and I completely forgot from moving the dirt, so we didn't have to move it twice. And unfortunately, my team didn't do it the way I wanted them to do it for whatever excuse reason they wanted to have.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's what we go back and do, because Don had asked me how we're getting rid of that dirt, and that's perfect where we need to get rid of it.
Well, I'll work on the bid packages and get those over to you early next week, Chris. If you want to critique,
Okay.
we can plan to get those finalized by next Friday. I had one for the basketball court as well. I may just go ahead and bid in there. It's a separate packet. That way we can.
Yep, absolutely. I think we do. I got an email from somebody the other day, and he must have been looking up the ODNR grants and stuff like that, and saw that we had it. There's a guy up in North Royalton who sells basketball equipment.
Yeah.
And he was giving me some offers. So I think that's the next thing that we need to look at is what are we going to put up there? I mean, we can go with cheapo. We can go all cheapo with the basic, bend pole like was out at the old school. Or we can go nicer with the square post, bolt-in square post that, raises and lowers. We can go with a metal. We could go with a metal backboard, or we could go with a nice acrylic ones that look really nice. I mean, we can go either way. The difference is the prices, and how much we want to spend. I mean, I think we're putting up a nice, and in my opinion, we're putting up a nice part. I don't mind the bent post one, but I'd rather, instead of putting the cheaper looking metal basketball hoop up there, I'd rather do the nicer looking, acrylic ones that look nice, since it's going to be a nice piece and nice and brand new. We might as well make it look nice,
Sure.
But
okay.
And that's the same thing, and that's the same thing. I think I'll do this for you guys too. Is I'll go in here, and the talk was to rotate this over here. The only reason I was thinking about it, I said, yeah, we can move it up until we build it, but I'm to the point of I don't want to keep changing the drawing. So either we're going to put it here, or we're going to put it there, so I don't have to keep moving things around, and we'll just take the jogging path around the way instead. So my only thing is, if we move it over here, what are we doing? Are we going to keep all the storage units and all that kind of stuff for the football team that are over here? We're going to make them move them to somewhere else. At least this scenario here, they're over here on the side and out of the way.
Do you know what the length was of the walking trail, the way you laid it out there?
I don't off the top of my head.
Okay.
I can find that out for you.
Well, if we're going to move it, I was going to say, don't worry. I know they've modified the trail grant deadline to April 1st, so I got it, two-thirds of the way complete, but I kind of held off knowing we were moving some stuff around to getting it finalized.
Okay.
At the point we feel pretty confident, I'd like to throw it in. I know they do give, well, I can always make it sound something, but if we can say, hey, it's a quarter mile or whatever it is, it's a lot.
That's my goal. That was my goal. That's what it was before.
Yeah.
I think is what it was. Was it a quarter mile, or was it a half mile loop?
I'm thinking.
It went around the football field. If it goes around the football field, it's got to be at least a quarter mile, so it must be a quarter mile.
Yeah.
Quarter mile's perfect, because then people know how many laps they're doing for a mile.
Yeah, you got it. Okay. Well, I appreciate the update. I didn't have anything else. I'll work on the packages to get those early next week, and I'll plan on getting the trail grant modified when we get a little further along.
There it is. I was trying to figure out where we're here.
And I don't.
Your agenda list here.
We got Parks Committee tomorrow, but I don't know that there's anything really we got to throw in front of them unless they want to take a look at the plans that you have there. I can print those off and bring them.
Okay.
And then
what time's the meeting?
10 a.m. I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I can't make that. I got to be in Columbus. At 10. So.
Okay. Well, I'll try to address the donation items too in the bid packages. I'll include them in there as an option for the picnic tables and things, but I think I may try to address those as items that we may exclude if we can get them donated. That way we can still address those hopefully that way.
Well, I think what you need to talk about is too, because I'm not speccing those out, so I think you can make that a Terry project, or the Parks project into picking out what model they want for them and everything like that. We need to come up with a spec if we're going to bid it out or anything just to find out.
Okay. Yeah.
So
We got.
I think either way it goes, I think either way it goes, we need to get them out and find out the prices of them, because if somebody's donating them, they're not going out and buying them on their own. They're going to give us the money for them. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, sounds good. Well, I will plan on getting you an update here early in the week on where I'm at on the bid packages. I just need to put your plans in. I think I'll try to put in all the items that you have listed.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care.
We'll talk to you later.
Yeah. Bye.
All right. Thanks.
All right, bye.